There's another one you also need to worry about, and he's Hayawenta. He is also on Onondageono. And Hayawenta is living, they say, in the outskirts of Onondage. And they says that Hayawenta was a great warrior, and that at one point war kind of made him crazy, and that what happened was the war was over, but Hayawenta kind of kept going. And in this part of the story, they describe Hayawenta as being one of the greatest warriors ever. And that it got to the point in his mind that he came back and kind of also turned on his own people and all people. And instead of just killing during wartime, that he also turned to eating people and cannibalism. Lost his mind, really. And that he lived by himself in the woods around Onondaige. Lived in a single person house. And that while he's living out there, he happens to be always by himself. First, he came to a house that was by itself, a single person house, and he looked around, and he looked out back and he saw a bunch of bones, and he figured he must be at the right spot. So he went in and looked around, and when he looked in the house, he saw a great big pot. And this pot, this huge clay pot, had a fire going, and it was already heated up, and it already had a fire going. And it was a point where the peacemaker knew that whoever made that fire and had that water going was somewhere close by. So the peacemaker decided he's gonna think about this for a minute. And what he did was he climbed up on top of the house, and he decided to kind of take a look and watch what happened. And he climbed on top of the house, and he was looking down. He was looking down through the smoke hole of this house. And that while he was there and watching, the peacemaker, again, he's trying to come up with his game plan here as he's laying on top of this house looking down. And as he was looking in, Hayawenta came back. And Hayawenta had been out hunting, and he eats people, like I said. So he came in, and he had been hunting. He had a successful hunt. So he bent down over the pot, and he was cooking. And as I said, he was successful, so you can see what he's cooking. And he was bent over that pot, cooking. Just at the same time, the peacemaker looked in. Well, as he's looking in there, the peacemaker's reflection showed up in the water, in the pot. And Hayawenta saw it. And like a mirror, when he saw his reflection, for a split second, he mistook that reflection as his own. And Hayawenta saw the face of someone that was very kind, and the face of someone with a great mission, with a great purpose, and he was startled. And they said that it startled him so much that he jumped back a little bit. And as he jumped back, he thought to himself, if I'm so kind and I'm so together and I have a mission, then why am I like this? And you know, he wanted to see again. So they say that Hayawenta bent back over the pot and he looked in for that reflection. And instead of seeing the peacemaker's reflection, who by this time moved out of the way, he jumped back. But Hayawenta looked again and he saw his own reflection. And this time when he saw his real reflection, he didn't like what he saw. And he saw somebody who was lost and mean and cruel. And he was ashamed. And it made him actually look at himself and inside himself for the first time in a long time. And Hayawenta was very ashamed. And as he was confused and ashamed by this, he sat in a corner of his house, just upset. He didn't like what he saw. Well, just at that time, the peacemaker jumped down. And he came in the house, and he told Hayawenta this great message of peace. And he told him, he says, you know, brother, what you're doing makes the Creator sad. He says, what you're doing and living this way, you need to stop. And he says that when you get hungry for meat, that the Creator intended that you should eat deer meat. And that Hayawenta took that great pot of water and he dumped it out. Took it outside and emptied it. And he told him, he said, from now on, when you get hungry, and fed him deer meat, you eat deer meat instead. That it's not intended for us to eat people. And Hayawenta listened to him. And at that time, he gave the peacemaker gave Hayawenta, rather, his message and told him his message. And Hayawenta listened to it. And the peacemaker said, you know, he said that every person has a right. Every person has a right to pursue a healthy mind, body, and spirit. And that the way you've been living is not the way the Creator intended. And that the way you've been living is not good. And tells him that he should change his ways and that he should accept and live by this message that he calls Gayanas Hatgowa. And that the Gayanas Hatgowa says that everyone has these rights. And of course, these rights being that everyone has the right to pursue a healthy mind, body, and spirit. And that killing people and eating them certainly goes against that. And so with that, he transformed Hayawenta into wanting to change. And Hayawenta listened to his message. And his message was the word from the Creator. And Hayawenta said, you know, he says, I live here, and the Ononda Geono people live in the middle of these nations. And that I understand, and I've been to many places as a warrior, and that I can speak many of the languages of the places that you're going. And he says, let me help you. Let me help you spread your message, and I can help you on your journey. So he decided, Hayawenta decided to be the speaker for the Peacemaker. And they said, the first thing we need to do is we need to go see Atataro, because he's the one who's the ruler, and he's the one whose mind we need to change. So together, they went to Atataro. And when they tried to go to where he was, he situated himself on an island. And his power was so great that not only was he controlling people around him, but he was even controlling the weather. And he's living outside. And they say his power was so bad and so fierce that a flock of geese would fly over him, and all he had to do was look at them, and they'd fall down dead. And that people in the village that were weak-minded would kind of go into a trance and wander off and literally become dinner for Atataro. So they decided, well, we're going to try and go see him. And they tried to go to his island. And they got their canoe, got their boat ready, and they tried to paddle over there. And that Atataro made a great storm. And that this great storm that he made happen caused their canoe to flip over, and that they barely survived. And that as they swam back to shore, they decided maybe they should get some help down the line here and come back. But that they'll continue with the mission of spreading Gayanas Hatgowa. So he continues his terror at Onondake.